What is up? It is Maximus MMA bringing you my full card recap for UFC 329 the morning after. Look, it was a great card. A lot of really good fights. I went 13 and 1 on predictions as far as the fights go, and the lock of the week, Bobby Green, ended up getting it done as expected by KO in the first round. So, really good week for the channel. And as far as the fight fan, it was also a great week everything outside of the main event. Like, let's get straight into it, man. Everybody's ranting and raving about this, and obviously for good reason. I mean, we waited 5 years to have Conor McGregor come back. A lot of people didn't think he would ever return after the nasty leg break in the Poirier trilogy. And, I mean, at fight week, he looked good, right? I mean, he looked big, he seemed somewhat dialed in. And he goes out in the fight and throws a jumping switch kick, and his knee seems to give out almost immediately. And that was essentially the beginning of the end. I mean, Holloway landed a few punches when McGregor was on the ground, and, McGregor popped up, threw another kick, instantly went down again. So it's one of those fights where, like, it didn't even really happen, and it's a real shame. We almost have more question marks about McGregor now than ever before, which is insane to even think about. And yeah, I mean, I predicted Max Holloway to win. I think anybody picking Conor McGregor was probably nuts and or just wishfully thinking. I was rooting for Conor, but clearly that leg just is not what it was. And look, I am a conspiracy guy, but I'm not really going to get into it at this point. I don't know if he was injured beforehand or what. I've seen some clips, people thinking they found kind of an isolated moment where he tweaked his knee before he even got in the cage. Who knows, right? Who knows? Realistically, only Conor knows. The only thing I did want to point out, though, is that, it was interesting to me, the build-up for Conor McGregor, especially 5 years off, pride before the fall. He kept on talking about how he found God and Jesus Christ, and I think that this was great evidence of Jesus Christ, because if you know how Jesus Christ works, he tends to give you challenges and tribulations that he believes that you need, and I think that this was sort of a lesson where he was like, hey, you don't get to just be so arrogant, party animal, be involved in the controversies Conor had been involved in, and just be able to use my name, and now all is fine, and you're just going to get back to the top, right? The perceived top. And, so I'm going to make you, it's easy to praise God, right, when you win the fight. If he went out there and won by knockout, he could thank God, right? Easy to do. Well, you continue to thank God and ask for blessings when literally the worst possible outcome occurs. It is a test. Keep in mind, when David asked for strength, right, God did not give him super speed, super strength, make him grow a foot taller, right, make him bigger arms. He gave him Goliath. And I think that this is a lesson that can be learned just in life from this fight. So I'll move on, but I did want to say that piece. Then right after the tragedy that was the Conor McGregor fight, we had an absolutely perfect prediction by me with Paddy Pimblett winning by submission. Look, this fight, I got a kick out of it, I can't lie, because I had my friends in the group chat we have, last second they're picking Benoit Saint Denis. Bro, are you guys blind? Like, look, I'm not trying to talk too much shit, but this fight to me was obvious. Paddy Pimblett has some of the nastiest chokes in all of MMA. And in my breakdown, I was essentially gassing him up the way he finished Bobby Green. Right? That showed me right there, this guy's got real skills on the ground. And you're talking about finding a choke. And Benoit Saint Denis, in literally every single UFC fight he's had, outside of maybe the Matt Frevola head kick, he has put himself in a position where he could be choked out. And again, you might be able to get out of these chokes against different guys, right? Against Hoofy, right? Amazing striker. Hoofy's not going to snatch onto that neck the way that Paddy Pimblett is. And as soon as I saw Benoit Saint Denis kind of shoot that takedown, I knew Paddy is immediately going for a submission. They're too dry. Obviously it could have been bad for Paddy if Benoit could have shook it off and then got on top and landed some ground and pound. But if you're Benoit Saint Denis, that was just a terrible game plan. I mean, you're going to take literally the best submission artist in the weight class, one of the best submission choke guys in the UFC, and in the first minute, you're going to put your head in the guillotine? It just made no sense. And, I'm not surprised at all. That's exactly how I saw the fight going, so it's pretty funny to see it play out that way. And a perfect prediction. Then right before that, we had another underdog call that I got correct with Mario Bautista. Simply just kind of, I don't want to say outdog, I don't think that's the right word, because Corey Sandhagen did show a decent heart. But just Mario Bautista, like I said in the breakdown, he just kept going first. And yes, you could blame that on Corey Sandhagen's knee, which was potentially compromised to an extent, even though I thought he was moving pretty well as the adrenaline started to really kick in. When Mario Bautista had him in that Sulai stretch in the first round, and damn near almost broke his knee in half. And yeah, I mean, Corey Sandhagen did build into the fight in the second round. I think he won that round, and that was after the apparent leg injury, so... But in the third round, Mario Bautista just keeps going first. Eventually lands hard on Sandhagen, drops him, and, that was the beginning of the end, because a guy like Bautista, if he knows he's up 2-1, assuming he's going to win that round, he knocks you down, he basically doesn't have to do anything dumb, right? And then he's going to win the fight. Mario Bautista's going to win that fight. He's too much of a veteran. I said he's a great MMA fighter. That's how he beat Vinicius Oliveira. And yeah, to me, another obvious call, because Corey Sandhagen has this cult fan base. Corey Sandhagen was never that good. That's my opinion. I really do believe that Corey Sandhagen was just never that good. Yes, he had a good career, but I said that he's overrated in my breakdown, and I think that Mario Bautista showed that. Because most people that were picking Corey Sandhagen were acting like Mario Bautista had no chance. And Mario Bautista is so overrated. So when you see Mario Bautista go out there and win a clear decision, and seriously hurt Corey Sandhagen with the leg and the knockdown, what does that make Corey then? If Mario Bautista is so overrated, what does that make Corey? Look, man, Corey Sandhagen, it sucks for him. It sounds like I'm hating on him so much, but I just don't understand this blind loyalty when, to me, he's just too hesitant. Really good win for Mario Bautista, though. Hopefully he gets a shot up the ranks, because he definitely deserved it. He's got to be 1 or 2 fights away from the title shot. Probably 1. Honestly, I say give him Sean O'Malley. Winner gets Petr Yan. But they might just jump O'Malley into a fight with Yan, so you never know. Then we had the only fight in the card that I predicted incorrectly, where Brandon Royval was essentially able to outdog Loner Kavanaugh and find a submission in the third round. Brandon, this is one of those fights where in hindsight, it was a little crazy the way that people were doubting Royval. I mean, Kavanaugh looked good against Moreno, and I did kind of put that asterisk on the Kavanaugh pick, where I said, hey, look, he looked really, really good against Brandon Moreno, who's a legend of the division, right? Obviously a former champion, multi-time champion. But I said that I really had suspicions that Brandon Moreno was already slowing down, maybe a fight or two before the Kavanaugh one. So I did kind of say, hey, I'm going to pick Kavanaugh here. It's going to be a lean, but look, man, there's a real chance that, Brandon Moreno is just a little bit washed, and I thought Royval might be the same amount of washed, but Royval's chin really did impress me. Obviously, Kavanaugh had him hurt many times in the fight, so the Kavanaugh pick wasn't terrible, but Brandon Royval is very tough, man, and, definitely had a will to win, a will to fight, and, Loner Kavanaugh, tried to pull guillotine or something like that. He basically gave up, dominant position to Royval in the third round, and then was never able to get up and ended up getting choked unconscious, so really good win for Royval. Royval's had an interesting career, and honestly, another reason why I maybe should have picked Royval was that, I'm so high on Manel Kape. I'm always glazing him, it seems like, but, just because Manel Kape knocks you out, that doesn't mean that Loner Kavanaugh is going to knock you out, especially when you saw how much smaller Loner Kavanaugh looked compared to Royval in the cage. Once I saw that, I was a little bit like, ooh, I don't know. And again, obviously, Kavanaugh had him hurt many times, but I don't know, just not the best pick there, but also wasn't my most confident, but kind of sucks, because if I would have picked Royval, would have had a 14-0 night and a clean sweep, so anyways. And then, hey, the lock of the week, Bobby Green, man. Again, another fight similar to the Paddy Pimblett and BSD fight, right? People can say, oh, you didn't know that was going to happen. Oh, yes, we did. Yes, we did. Bobby Green can sometimes, like I said in my breakdown, he builds into fights, right? He can start kind of slow. He's got to get warmed up using that head movement style. And look, Terrence McKinney cut him, okay, right near his eye really early in the fight. That did make me a little worried, Because I was like, man, like, now you got a guy like Terrence McKinney who's kind of a, aggressive blitzer, and now you've got blood going into the eye of King Green, and it definitely looked like his vision was being affected. He kept pawing at it. I was a little worried in that moment. But then when they got on the ground, okay, and Terrence McKinney had him in a choke, and King Green looked like he was going to get out of it, I knew the fight was over. I didn't think that he was going to knock him out in the last second of the first round. Kind of a weak stoppage. We'll get to that. But I thought that, dude, literally in my breakdown, I said that King Green does not want to lose to Terrence McKinney. And we've already seen that Terrence McKinney is a quitter. He quits. Let's just be real. Okay, Terrence McKinney has got 4 minutes of fighting in him. The exact same thing happened against Chris Duncan. He hurt Chris Duncan. Chris Duncan was too tough, too good, said, no, you're not getting me out of there like that. And Terrence McKinney said, okay, take my neck, choke me out, Chris. I don't want to fight anymore. Look, you could call this an early stoppage. I don't think it was an early stoppage. Only reason why is because you have to show the referee you want to fight. And if you look at body language of Terrence McKinney, he did not want to be in there. I mean, you can't dominate a guy for 4 minutes, 40 seconds, and then just proceed to shell up against the fence. Like, show that you want to fight. And so I think it was a decent stoppage. Especially, I mean, I might be a little biased. I had King Green. It said that Bobby Green ended as a favorite, but when I released the lock of the week, he was plus 130. So, really nice underdog pick. And yeah, I think that kind of the sharps were starting to think, man, like if Terrence McKinney doesn't knock out King Green in the first couple minutes, Bobby Green's going to win this fight. He's too much of a dog. This is the difference between a hood black person and a suburbs black person. Look, I'm just calling it as it is, because that was one of the main reasons why I picked Bobby. He just had a little bit more want to fight, and will and want to fight. I said that in the breakdown. He didn't want to lose to Terrence McKinney. He builds in the fights, and I said once Bobby Green starts to roll downhill, he will not give it back, and that's exactly what happened. And hey, he didn't have to roll very far. But for those 10 seconds, 15 seconds Bobby Green was rolling, did Terrence McKinney ever take it back? No. He was never going to. Lock of the week hits. Then a really easy pick, honestly, in hindsight, or Robert Whittaker. These odds are crazy, again, in hindsight, because look, Nikita Krylov looked huge. But I was relatively confident in Robert Whittaker. In my breakdown, I said, look, he's just a different class. I mean, you're taking a guy that was a middleweight champion, right, that beat a lot of really good guys, and now he's fighting a guy like Krylov, who, again, has never accomplished anything in the sport? I mean, like, he's fringe top 15 in the worst division in the UFC. And which is why I said Robert Whittaker probably thinks he can go up to light heavyweight and beat some of these guys just because the talent level is different. Did I think that Robert Whittaker looked spectacular? Not really. I mean, he did kind of look chubby. Again, he looked very small. Krylov was kind of weighing on him for a little bit. So, I mean, but, once they got to range, Robert Whittaker was just, again, a different level of MMA fighter. And that was very clear from, 3 minutes onward. So, good win for Robert Whittaker. I don't know what you do with him here. Give him some guy in the top 10. It's pretty simple, I guess. But, anybody in the top 10 for Robert. Good win, but Krylov, clearly it's not championship material. He was tough, but, he was clearly outmatched. Then we had a squash match of sorts, but Elisha Ellison actually gave a better showing for himself than I thought he would. Pretty crazy, too, that, again, Pericic dealt with Ellison easier than Steveson. And look, I'm not trying to hate on Steveson. I mean, he got a KO in the first, pretty much half round. So, it's not, you're kind of pulling at straws to talk crap. But, yeah, I thought Gable Steveson looked all right. He definitely looked like he can get hit. So, that was a little worrisome. He might even have been a little bit rocked before. And this is heavyweight. So, you get hit hard by these guys. You can certainly go. But Gable Stevenson's definitely very filled out. So, he should have a pretty good chin. Be shocked if he doesn't prove to have a good chin over the course of his career, but I guess time will tell. So, Gable Steveson, kind of like how he said in his post-fight interview, he doesn't seem to be in a rush to, get a shot up the rankings. I think you build him for a little bit. I mean, he's only 4-0. And like I said, if you throw this guy in there with Brando Pericic or one of these real prospects at heavyweight, again, I would pick Pericic. I said that before the fight. I'll say it after. And Pericic has a fight, but I'm saying this is a tier of that tier of guys. I don't like that for Steveson yet. let's let him beat up a couple, just big fat guys, okay, and then see where he goes from there. Then we had Adrian Yanez smoke Cody Garbrandt. Look, Cody Garbrandt, it's unfortunate, but he's just the absolute shell of himself. I mean, it's just all there is to it. Easy win for Yanez. I mean, Cody Garbrandt, I will say, did come out aggressively, which I was happy to see that, because I've said before that I think that he waits way too much at this point of his career, hence the shell of himself. But yeah, at least against Yanez, he did come out and he tried to land hard, and he landed a few punches, a few hard punches, but Yanez was just a little bit too young and too motivated, and Garbrandt, I mean, he's 36 now, 35, sorry. So pretty obvious win. Don't need to spend too much time on it other than the Cody Garbrandt. I think he might have retired, but if he didn't, please retire. Then we saw Luke Riley, who I was also very confident in, pretty much destroy Kai Kamaka. Look, the size advantage was very evident, and to me, Kamaka landed a few hard punches pretty early in the fight, but Riley, as expected, which I said he would because he's big for the weight division and he has his massive freaking head, he took those punches fine. And once he did that, I was like, he's eventually going to walk down Kamaka. Now, I will say that Luke Riley did look vulnerable to be hit at some times. He definitely was dropping his hands a little bit, which could be a cause for concern in the future. But the thing about it is that I just think that maybe he thought that he could take the power of Kamaka. So we're going to give him the benefit of the doubt there. But Luke Riley is definitely a really good prospect. So keep on building him up. But, take it slow, right? Go to Paddy Pimblett route. But he should get a little bit of a jump up here, I think. I think it's time. But nothing crazy. Maybe a guy in the top 20, 30 maybe. And then Kai Kamaka, look, he looked all right in there. I give him another fight. He fought entertaining enough, and he tried to make it a fight with Luke Riley. And I'd hate to see him cut for the second time against such a blue chip prospect like Luke Riley, who realistically Kai Kamaka was sent in there to lose against. So good win for Riley. Then we had another pick that in hindsight was quite easy. I did pick Kong Wang to dominate on the feet, and that is what happened. And Tracy Cortez quickly found out that she would not get the takedowns, and Kong Wang just had way more consequence, way more thought on the feet. She landed some leg kick in the first round that was really loud. I don't know, the UFC might have been trying to impress us with the women's MMA and hyped up the volume from the cage. It was really weird because that strike was just so loud, and then no other ones really were from what I remember. But also, Daniel Cormier calling Kong Wong Kong. That was cracking me up. He's like, Wong Kong. I'm like, Daniel, brother. I'm like, can you read? And look, we've all done it too. Shout out, this is ball knower knowledge, but in League of Legends, there's a character named Xin Zhao, and when I was younger, I used to always call him Ching Chong just to troll my Asian friend. He used to get so pissed about that. And I was just getting flashbacks to that from the Wong Kong call from Daniel Cormier. Daniel Cormier, do your damn homework, man. But yeah, I don't know. Kong Wang, put some respect in the name. She's a good fighter, and I thought that she would be dominant on the feet. And also, she really just looked way bigger, too. Her frame, I really like her frame at this weight class, especially to look in the most respectful way possible, the more feminine frame of Tracy Cortez. Kong Wang looked freaking big, big shoulders. I mean, I don't know. Honestly, one of those where, once they got in the cage, I was very sure that Kong Wang was going to get the job done. Then another fight that I had a hard time picking, but thankfully I did pick the right side. And the reason I picked Damian Pinas was because I really liked the reach and youth advantage, and I think that is why he won the fight. Look, early on it was a decent kickboxing fight, and it was one of those where you were like, okay, exactly like I said in the breakdown, if this becomes a kickboxing match, Cesar Almeida is very live. But then you just saw Pinas, use that range advantage and really nice speed to just throw one down the pipe, and Cesar Almeida went out. Yeah, very good prospect, and Damian Pinas is a no-joke win. He definitely deserves a lot of credit for it. And, yeah, he's clearly a guy to watch out for at give him some guy in the top 30, right around 30. Cesar Almeida was a good test. He's proven that he can smoke a guy like Cesar Almeida. Let's move him forward a little bit, but we're not going to jump him into some, top 15 matchup yet. But Damian Pinas is definitely a guy to look out for in the future. A great win. And another correct prediction. Then we had Farid Basharat against John Garza. Complete transparent. I did not actually get a chance to see this fight. I was up busy doing some work in real life, so apologize for that. But from what I heard, John Garza made a good showing for himself, but ended up losing kind of a typical Basharat decision. I did take Basharat to potentially get the submission, just because I thought that John Garza might be vulnerable to that because he had been subbed many times in his amateur career, which, again, being 23 years old, it was not long ago. And, apparently that just didn't happen. I guess good win for Basharat, but he definitely should have got the finish here. And I heard he was begging for a contract after, so who knows if the UFC even keeps him around. But he's got to find a way to start getting finishes if they're going to re-sign him. And then we had Ryan Gandra absolutely destroy Zach Reese. Look, another just perfect prediction by me. I said that Ryan Gandra hits hard and he's aggressive, and Zach Reese is, in my opinion, a bum. I mean, on the feet, he's very vulnerable. He doesn't move his head at all, which is exactly what we saw against Ryan Gandra. He literally stands there, iconic announcer's jinx with Joe Rogan. I really like how Zach's looking in there. He's looking really relaxed, and then instantly gets knocked out. He looks too relaxed at times. He's not a great athlete. So when you have this whole persona and kind of stance where you're like gonna be like really calm, right, and set, he doesn't have the reactions to pull out the way, slip that punch. And that's exactly what I predicted. Ryan Gandra killed him. Is Ryan Gandra even good? Who knows? Because like I said, Zach Reese I don't think is very good. Some people said it was a little bit of early stoppage, but again, I don't think it is. Only reason why, look, man, Zach Reese, as I said in the breakdown, we know that he loves to play guard. Did anybody really need to see him play guard against Ryan Gandra? Ryan Gandra would have punched a hole through his face against a hurt Zach Reese. Good stoppage, in my opinion, only because, again, save Zach Reese from himself, man. For Zach Reese, I mean, keep him around, right? He's a good guy to build prospects off of. And then Gandra, he's got a long way to go. I mean, middleweight's a tough division. Build him up, but we'll see where he goes from here. But at least he's a guy that's exciting and getting a lot of finishes. So he should be a finish or get finished fighter going forward, which is exciting to see. And then to open up the card, we had Alessandro Costa, where he submitted Cody Durden. Just one of those fights that, not too much to say because it was kind of expected. I mean, Cody Durden isn't what he used to be, and Costa is the guy that's a UFC vet, so he should be able to find a finish at this stage of his career against an aging Cody Durden. Essentially what happened. I don't need to get too much into that fight. To be honest, I don't really care. But yeah, what a card. UFC 329. Lock of the week, Bobby Green cashes. 13-1 on picks overall. I told you we were going to have some great picks for the McGregor card. We're going to get it right next week again. So stay on the lookout for those predictions. The OKC card, I believe it is. I guess we can check right now. Yes, it is. So, yeah, as always, it's been Maximus MMA. Please like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the videos. And, yeah, I will be bringing more videos next week. Well, this week, I guess. And some more fire predictions. So be on the lookout for that. We're going to get a lock of the week, pick of the week streak going as well. Shout out Bobby Green.